The next tissue system we are supposed to study here is the vascular tissue system. Vascular tissue system consists of two types of elements. Vascular tissue consists of complex tissues. It consists of complex tissues. So what are complex tissues? We have already learned in detail about xylem and phloem. So what are the complex tissues here? Those are xylem and phloem, right? So these vascular tissues or xylem and phloem grouped together constitute complex tissue. Complex tissue together arrangement which are integrated together and are arranged in the ground tissue in the form of vascular bundles. Now, if these vascular bundles are these are the primary structures in nature, and these are present. Vascular bundles are basically primary in structure, and these are meant for the conduction of water and food materials. These are consist of xylem and phloem. As we already know, xylem is useful for the water conduction, and phloem is used for the conduction of food material. Right? So these two xylem and phloem elements are together arranged and scattered in the ground tissues and clubbed together make a vascular tissue system. Now here in some plant, if in some plants we see that these vascular bundles, so this together xylem and phloem will make it a vascular bundle. So if this vascular bundle is surrounded by some fibers, for suppose example assume these are fibers. If these are surrounded by fibers, then this type of vascular bundle is called as fibrous vascular bundle. So this type of vascular bundle is called as fibrous vascular bundle. Okay. Next here where does this vascular bundle originate from? These vascular bundles originate from the procambium of the apical meristem. And these cells are isodiametric in nature and undergo the longitudinal division. These cells are, which cells here we are talking in the context of procambium. So the procambium cells of the apical meristems are the place from where the vascular bundle or vascular tissue is originating, and these cells are isodiametric in nature and show longitudinal division. These cells are narrow and these cells are isodiametric in nature and show longitudinal division. These cells are narrow, long and filled with dense cytoplasm. So now these procambial cells are also otherwise called as, this is also called as provascular meristem. This is procambium is otherwise called as provascular meristem, or it is also called as provascular tissue. At the initial stages, this provascular meristem or provascular tissue, or otherwise called as procambium, is differentiated into two parts. That two parts are nothing but those are xylem and phloem. Now here xylem and phloem arrangement, on the basis of that the arrangement or movement of the xylem is of two types, centripetal and centrifugal type. The procambium cells provascular tissue is differentiated into two parts, those are xylem and phloem. Now this phloem matures much earlier than the xylem. Matures earlier than the xylem, and whereas the xylem takes a bit much time, and here it takes place, the maturation takes place in the form of centripetal manner. Centripetal manner, and that is we can also call it as centripetal succession. The maturation takes place in phloem in the process of centripetal succession, whereas in the xylem the maturation is much late when comparing to the phloem, and here the maturation takes place in both centripetal and basipetal succession. both centripetal and basipetal succession. On the basis of the arrangement, differentiation of xylem is of three types here. First one is centripetal, that is called as centripetal growth, the growth of the xylem if it is occurring from outer side to the center. In this type, the initial elements of the xylem are differentiated from the outer region towards the inner side. So, for example, it is there. So, it will be from outer region towards the inner side, then or from outer region towards the center, then this type of xylem is called as exarch xylem. If the initiation of initial elements of the xylem shows differentiation from the outer region towards the center, then this type of xylem is called as exarch xylem. Okay, na? Next, if the centrifugal, another one is centrifugal. Now, what is centrifugal growth? The opposite of this is centrifugal growth. Here, the initiation of the initials of the xylem elements shows the differentiation from the center towards the periphery. From the center towards the periphery, the differentiation of the xylem elements is from the centers towards the outside. Then that type of xylem formed is called as endarch xylem. Okay, so there are on the basis of differentiation, xylems are of three types: centripetal, centrifugal, and one more is mesarch xylem. What is mesarch xylem here? Okay, another type is mesarch xylem. Here the initial elements of xylem shows differentiation in both centripetal and centrifugal growth form. So that type of xylem is called as mesarch xylem. It is a combination of both okay. So on the basis of differentiation, as we said earlier, xylem is of three types: centripetal, centrifugal, and mesarch xylem. Centripetal is one. If the xylem movement is occurring from the outer periphery towards the center, then at that stage the xylem is called as exarch xylem. And if it is centrifugal growth, the differentiation or initial elements of xylem are differentiated from the center towards the periphery, then that type are called as endarch xylem. And in mesarch xylem, a mesarch xylem is a condition where you will see the combination of 1 and 2. Combination of 1 and 2. What is 1 and 2 here? Centripetal as well as centrifugal growth. If the xylem is showing both the exarch and endarch condition in a particular plant, then that condition of xylem is called as mesarch xylem, and then the xylem is mesarch, and normally these are found in fern plants and cycas plants. Now here next, when we are talking in terms of vascular tissue system, we have already learned in the complex tissue the terms. Again we have to repeat them here. Those are primary xylem and primary phloem. Okay, what is primary xylem? As we said, primary itself indicates the first form xylem is called as primary xylem. Okay, again you have two types here. Those are called as protoxylem, metaxylem. So the xylem, the first form xylem is called as primary xylem is called as protoxylem, and the latter formed primary xylem is called as metaxylem. Okay, next one, primary phloem. And in primary phloem, the first form phloem elements are called as primary phloem. Here also you are having two types. Those are protophlloem and another one is metaphlloem. Okay, in detail we have studied in vascular complex tissues what is the first form phloem is called as protophlloem and the latter form is called as the metaphlloem type of tissue. Now again we have different types of vascular bundles. In vascular tissue system we are supposed to study about vascular bundles. As we know, what is vascular bundle? It is nothing but a combination of xylem plus phloem. Okay. Now, when we are studying the vascular bundles in the stems, we will differentiate what is the structure of vascular bundles normally when we see the transverse section in the stems, in the leaves and in the roots. Then we will come into account detail what is what. Okay, what are the different types of vascular bundles. Okay, when we compare the vascular bundle in the stem, okay, normally when we see the arrangement of xylem and phloem in arrangement of vascular bundles in the stems and leaf, we will see that the phloem is present towards the outside. In stem, the phloem is outside, whereas in leaves you will see the phloem in abaxial side. Okay, now in some cases or in some plants you will see the presence of in some members of families you will see the presence of phloem towards the inner side. Those are called as internal phloem. When we are studying about phloem in detail, we have studied this will be seen in the families like Cucurbitaceae and Convolvulaceae. Okay. Now, when we this is about the arrangement of phloem in stems, it is outside, in the leaf it is abaxial side, and if the phloem is towards the inner side of the xylem, then that type of phloem is called as internal phloem. As per your syllabus, you will be seeing it in Cucurbitaceae and Convolvulaceae family. Okay.